Welcome to the Holborn Assets channel. In this series, we look at major events in the history of economics that helped to shape the world we live in today. We only cover 3 events a week, so there's plenty of history we can't look at, but if you think we missed a big one, just leave a comment and we'll look into it for a future video. The Economic Community of West African States was formed by the signing of the Treaty of Lagos on the 28th of May 1975. This union is comparable to the EU in that it aims to reduce barriers to trade and promote peace through the region. There is a wider African economic community that covers most of the continent, but the regional blocs, such as the ECOWAS, have much closer economic integration. The West African bloc is also really split into 2 halves, the English-speaking nations and the others, who are mostly French speakers. The French speakers, like the Ivory Coast and Senegal, have a common currency called the CFA franc, which is guaranteed by the French government and its rate is fixed to the euro. Some criticise the setup, saying it's bad for development to have the European Central Bank effectively in charge of their currency, but supporters say it has helped stabilise the region. The English-speaking part, including Ghana and Nigeria, have been trying to introduce a common currency called the ECO since the turn of the millennium, but targets have been missed repeatedly and it's not going to happen anytime soon. Boris Yeltsin was the key figure in the breakup of the Soviet Union. On the 29th of May 1990, he was elected as chairman of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet, meaning he was effectively the leader of Russia, while Gorbachev still led the Soviet Union as a whole. Gorbachev's hold on power had slipped, and Yeltsin was appointed against his wishes. Yeltsin met with leaders from Ukraine and Belarus and agreed to end the Soviet Union. Gorbachev was done, along with the Union, and Yeltsin was elected president in a democratic election in 1991. He had an extremely difficult task on his hand. It's said that he toured a grocery store in Texas in 1989 and had been shocked at how far ahead the life of the average American was compared to the average Russian. So he attempted to fully introduce capitalism rather than adapt to the socialism that existed. He attempted to get the privatization going by giving citizens vouchers to buy shares in state enterprises. Yeltsin also needed cash to pay for Russia's large foreign debt, so he also swapped shares for bank loans from some of the rich businessmen. The public mostly sold their share vouchers to brokers, or for cash, since times were extremely hard. So the state industries like oil and banking soon belonged to a few powerful men who became the oligarchs that we know today. When GM filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on June 1, 2009, it was one of the biggest businesses to do so in US history. The automotive industry took a huge hit during the global financial crisis. Chrysler actually went bust just a few months before GM. However, it wasn't simply the markets crashing that caused GM's collapse. Trouble had been brewing for years before that. They posted a loss of $10.6 billion in 2005 and $38.7 billion in 2006. They tried and failed to get government support for their pension fund. But despite their bankruptcy less than 10 years ago, the company is now performing very strongly. How is this possible though? Well, through a clever piece of maneuvering, before they filed for bankruptcy, they split the company into 2 parts. In one part, they put everything they would sell, including Hummer, Saab, Saturn and Pontiac, and called it Motor Liquidation Company. The other part, New GM, had everything they wanted to keep. So, after the bankruptcy, New GM bought their old company, mostly funded by the US and Canadian government, who took about 70% of the shares. Just 40 days after filing for bankruptcy, they were back in business. So, that was the week. Who knows what events from the last few days will end up being recorded in history as things that changed the world. Don't forget to subscribe so you can learn more about the economic history of the world, as well as see other great videos on managing your money and making investments. See you next time.